The sidewalk was cold, even through the cardboard Maya had placed beneath her. She'd been sitting there since morning watching hundreds of feet walk past her. Expensive sneakers, polished leather shoes, worn-out boots. Everyone had somewhere to go. Everyone except her. Her stomach growled again. When was the last time she'd eaten? Yesterday morning, maybe. A kind woman had given her half a bagel. The day before that, nothing. Time had a strange way of blurring together when hunger became your constant companion. Maya looked down at the sign propped against her backpack. The cardboard was getting soft from the morning dew. The words written in black marker starting to fade. "We'll draw your portrait for a meal." 3 months ago, she would have laughed if someone told her this would be her life. 3 months ago, she still had her job at the coffee shop. 3 months ago, she could still afford her tiny apartment. 3 months ago, she still had hope. Now, all she had was her sketch pad, a pencil worn down to a stub, and whatever dignity she could scrape together each morning before positioning herself outside the downtown cafe. The smell of fresh bread drifted out every time someone opened the cafe door. Maya's mouth watered. She remembered what it felt like to walk into a place like that, to order whatever she wanted, to sit at a table like a normal person. Those memories felt like they belonged to someone else now. A businessman rushed past, nearly stepping on her stretched-out legs. He didn't even glance down. Maya pulled her knees closer to her chest. She'd learned quickly that to most people she was invisible. They'd look right through her, or worse, make a point of looking away. "Spare some change?" a voice called from down the street. It was Robert, another person living on the streets. He'd been out here for 2 years, he'd told her once. 2 years. Maya couldn't imagine surviving that long like this. She'd been an art student once, top of her class. Her professors said she had talent, real talent. They said she'd make it big. But talent didn't pay rent. Talent didn't fill your stomach. And when the pandemic hit and the gallery jobs disappeared and the freelance work dried up, talent became just another word for broke. Maya opened her sketch pad, flipping past the portraits she'd drawn over the last few weeks. An older man with kind eyes, a college student with bright pink hair, a little girl holding a teddy bear. Each one had earned her a sandwich, a slice of pizza, a cup of soup. Each one kept her alive for another day. Her hand moved across the page, sketching without thinking. It was the only thing that still felt real, the only thing that reminded her she was still herself. Lines became shapes, shapes became shadows, and soon a face emerged on the paper. Her mother's face. Maya stopped, staring at the drawing. She hadn't called home in weeks. Couldn't bear to. Her parents had warned her about moving to the city, about pursuing art instead of something practical. They'd been right, and that hurt more than the hunger. She could call them. They'd send money, but then she'd have to admit defeat. She'd have to hear the disappointment in their voices. "Those are really good," Maya looked up. A teenage girl stood there, maybe 16, wearing a school uniform. She was pointing at the portraits in Maya's sketchpad. "Thanks," Maya said, her voice rough. She didn't talk much these days. "How much for a drawing?" Maya pointed at her sign. The girl's face fell when she read it. "Oh, I don't have any food with me. Just money for the bus." "It's okay," Maya said quickly. She didn't want pity. Didn't want that look. But the girl was already digging through her backpack. She pulled out a granola bar and a banana. "Here, this is my snack, but you can have it." "Can you draw me?" "It's for my mom's birthday." "I can't afford to buy her anything." Maya's eyes burned. She nodded, not trusting her voice. The girl sat down on the sidewalk next to her, not seeming to care about her clean uniform getting dirty. They didn't talk much, but somehow it felt companionable. Normal. Maya sketched quickly, capturing the girl's hopeful smile, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners just like her mother's probably did. When she finished, the girl's face lit up. "She's going to love this. Thank you so much." After the girl left, Maya ate the granola bar slowly, making it last. The banana she saved for later. 2 meals. She'd made it stretch. The afternoon crowd picked up. Maya watched an endless stream of people living their lives. A couple holding hands, laughing about something. A mother pushing a stroller. Her baby fast asleep. An old man walking his dog, stopping to let it sniff every tree. Normal life. The life she used to have. The life that felt impossibly far away now. As the sun started to sink lower, Maya thought about where she'd sleep tonight. The shelter was full most nights. Last week she'd slept in the park under a bench until the police moved her along at dawn. The week before, she'd found an alcove behind a grocery store, but the owner chased her away. She was so tired. Not just physically. Though her body ached from sitting on concrete all day, she was tired in her bones, tired in her soul, tired of being invisible, tired of being hungry, tired of wondering if this was it, if this was all her life would ever be. Maya looked at her hands. They were the hands of an artist, calloused from holding pencils and paintbrushes, stained with charcoal and ink that never quite washed out. These hands had created beautiful things once. They still could. But what did it matter if no one wanted to see them? The cafe was getting ready to close. Maya knew she should move soon, find somewhere to spend the night. But moving required energy she didn't have. Just a few more minutes, she told herself. Just a little longer in this spot that had become familiar, even if it was just a piece of sidewalk. A little boy walked past with his father, tugging on the man's hand and pointing at something in a shop window. The father laughed, scooping the child up onto his shoulders. The boy squealed with delight. Maya watched them disappear into the evening crowd. She wondered what it felt like to have someone who'd carry you when you couldn't walk anymore, to have someone who'd catch you when you fell. She pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders as the temperature dropped. Another night was coming, another test of how much she could endure. But for now, she picked up her pencil and started drawing again. Because it was the only thing she knew how to do. The only thing that made her feel human. Even if the world had forgotten she existed, she could still create. She could still make something beautiful out of nothing. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to survive one more day. Maya was about to pack up her things when a shadow fell across her sketch pad. She'd learned to recognize the different types of shadows. Some people slowed down just to stare. Others stopped to drop coins without making eye contact. This shadow stayed still, like the person was actually looking at her work. She glanced up. A man stood there, maybe in his mid-30s, with tired eyes and paint stains on his jeans. Real paint stains. The kind that came from actually working with art. Not the designer kind you bought at expensive stores. Next to him was a small boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old, clutching a stuffed dinosaur that had seen better days. "These are incredible," the man said, pointing to the portraits spread across her lap. His voice was gentle, not the pitying kind of gentle, but genuinely impressed. "You're really talented." Maya didn't know what to say. She'd heard compliments before, back when things were different. Now they felt strange, like words in a language she'd forgotten how to speak. The little boy tugged on his father's sleeve. "Dad, can we get one, please?" The man smiled, the kind of smile that made his whole face soften. He looked at Maya. "Would you be willing to draw my son? I can pay you with food." "That's what your sign says, right?" Maya nodded. Her throat felt tight. It was near closing time for the cafe, and she'd only done one drawing all day. The banana from earlier was long gone. "Actually," the man said, glancing at his son, then back at Maya, "let me do this properly. Will you draw him while I get you some dinner?" A real dinner, not just a sandwich. Before Maya could respond, he was already walking toward the cafe. The boy plopped down on the sidewalk next to her, completely unbothered by the dirt or the cold concrete. "I'm Tommy," the boy announced, holding up his dinosaur. "This is Rex. He's a T-Rex, but he's nice, not scary." "What's your name?" "Maya," she managed to say. "That's a pretty name." "Dad says I have to sit still for drawings." "I'm good at sitting still. Well, mostly good. Sometimes I fidget, but I'll try really hard not to." Despite everything, Maya felt the corner of her mouth lift slightly. When was the last time she'd smiled? She couldn't remember. She opened to a fresh page in her sketchpad and began sketching. Tommy did try to sit still, though his feet kept swinging and he talked the entire time. He told her about his day at school, about his best friend who could burp the alphabet, about the tooth he'd lost last week and how the tooth fairy gave him $2 whole. "Dad says the tooth fairy is having budget problems," Tommy said seriously. "That's why it's only $2 now instead of $5. But I don't mind. $2 is still a lot." Maya's pencil moved across the page, capturing Tommy's gap-toothed grin, the way his hair stuck up funny in the back, the pure joy in his expression. For a few minutes, she forgot about being hungry, forgot about being cold. She was just an artist again, doing what she loved. The man returned, carrying 2 large paper bags. The smell hit Maya immediately. Soup, fresh bread, something warm and real. Her stomach twisted so hard it hurt. "I wasn't sure what you'd like," he said, setting the bags down carefully. So I got a variety. There's tomato soup, a turkey sandwich, salad, and some pasta. Oh, and apple pie. Tommy insisted on the pie. Everyone likes pie, Tommy said matter-of-factly. Maya stared at the food. It was too much. Way too much for one meal. I can't. This is too much for just one drawing. Consider it payment for letting me interrupt your evening, the man said. He sat down on the sidewalk too, right there in his paint-stained jeans like it was the most natural thing in the world. I'm Daniel, by the way. I teach art at Lincoln High School. An art teacher. That explained the paint stains. Maya focused on her drawing, not sure what to say. Her hands were shaking slightly, though whether from hunger or emotion she couldn't tell. Daniel didn't push her to talk. He just opened one of the containers and handed it to her, the soup still steaming. Maya took it with trembling fingers. The warmth alone was almost enough to make her cry. Eat, Daniel said quietly. The drawing can wait a few minutes, so she ate. She tried to eat slowly, tried not to look desperate, but it was hard when your body was screaming for food. The soup was the best thing she'd ever tasted. Or maybe she was just that hungry. Either way, she had to stop herself from gulping it down. Tommy kept chattering away, telling her about his dinosaur collection and his missing tooth and how his dad made the best pancakes in the whole world. Daniel listened patiently, occasionally adding comments, watching Maya with those kind, tired eyes. When she'd taken the edge off her hunger, Maya went back to the drawing. Her hands were steadier now. She added details. The specific way Tommy held his dinosaur, the little scar on his chin, the mischief in his eyes that suggested he wasn't always as good at sitting still as he claimed. Can I ask you something? Daniel said after a while. His voice was careful, like he was worried about overstepping. How long have you been out here? Maya kept drawing. 3 months. Almost 4. Art degree? She nodded. Thought so. I can tell from your technique. You've had formal training. He paused. This economy is brutal for artists. Hell, it's brutal for everyone, but especially creative people. No one thinks art is worth paying for until they need it. There was understanding in his voice, not judgment. Maya glanced at him. Really looked at him this time. He had the same tired look she saw in the mirror, when she could find a mirror. The look of someone who'd been knocked down a few times but kept getting back up. I teach 150 kids, Daniel continued, and maybe 5 of them will make a living from art. Not because they're not talented, but because the world doesn't make space for artists anymore. It's heartbreaking. Then why do you teach it? Maya asked. Daniel smiled, looking at Tommy. Because those 5 kids deserve a shot, and because the other 145 deserve to know that creating something beautiful matters, even if they never sell a single piece. Art isn't just about making money. It's about making meaning. Maya finished the drawing. It was some of her best work, she realized. Fed and warm for the first time in days, her hand had been steady, her mind clear. She'd captured something real in Tommy's expression. Pure childhood joy, untouched by the harsh realities she knew too well. Wow, Daniel breathed when she showed him. Maya, this is gallery quality. You shouldn't be out here. You should be teaching or displaying, or should doesn't pay rent, Maya said quietly. Daniel was silent for a moment. Tommy had gotten distracted by a pigeon and was trying to coax it closer with breadcrumbs from the bag. What if I told you I might have an opportunity? Daniel said slowly. It's not much, and it comes with strings attached, but would you be interested in hearing about it? Maya looked at him suspiciously. She'd learned the hard way that opportunities usually came with catches. People didn't just help strangers on the street without wanting something. I'm not asking for anything weird, Daniel said quickly, reading her expression. It's legitimate. It's through the school. But I'd need to explain the whole thing, and it's complicated. Do you have a few more minutes? Maya looked at the food still waiting in the bags. At Tommy playing with the pigeon. At this man who'd sat down on a dirty sidewalk and treated her like a person, not a problem. Okay, she said. I'm listening. And for the first time in months, Maya felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. It wasn't quite hope. Not yet, but it was close. It was possibility. And sometimes that was enough. Daniel waited until Tommy wandered back, then pulled out his phone. He scrolled for a moment before turning the screen toward Maya. This is my classroom. Maya looked at the photo. It showed a large room with bare white walls, rows of old desks, and a few scattered art supplies that looked like they'd been donated from someone's garage sale. It was depressing, honestly. Nothing like the bright, inspiring art room she remembered from her own school days. Looks pretty sad, doesn't it? Daniel said, reading her expression. The district cut our arts funding 3 years ago. Then cut it again last year. I spend half my salary on basic supplies, pencils, paper, paint when I can afford it. My kids share everything. 5 students to 1 set of colored pencils. It's not enough. He swiped to another photo. This one showed students crowded around a single desk, trying to work together on something. They looked engaged, excited even. But the lack of resources was obvious. I have kids with real talent, Daniel continued. Kids who could get art scholarships, who could build careers if they had the right guidance and opportunities. But I'm one person trying to teach 150 students. I can barely keep up with grading, let alone give them individual attention. Maya wasn't sure where this was going, but she stayed quiet and listened. Here's the thing, Daniel said, putting his phone away. Lincoln High has something called an Artist in Residence program. It's been around for 20 years, but nobody's used it in the last 5 because there's no budget for it. Technically, it still exists on paper. Tommy climbed into his father's lap, getting tired. Daniel wrapped his arms around the boy absently, like it was second nature. The program was designed to bring working artists into schools, he continued. Give them a small stipend, a place to stay, and in exchange they'd help with the art department. Teach some classes, mentor students, that kind of thing. The teacher housing units are just sitting empty anyway. Maya's heart started beating faster. She forced herself not to hope. Not yet. I talked to Principal Rodriguez about it last month, Daniel said. Told her we needed help. She said if I could find someone qualified, she'd approve reopening the program. The stipend isn't much, maybe enough to cover food and basics. But it comes with housing, a workspace, and access to whatever art supplies the school has. He looked directly at Maya now. I know this is sudden. We literally just met. But I've been teaching for 12 years and I know talent when I see it. Your work is professional level. You could help these kids, and maybe they could help you too. Maya's mind was racing. It sounded too good to be true. Things that sounded too good to be true usually were. Why would you do this for someone you don't know? She asked. You don't know anything about me. I could be anyone. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Tommy had fallen asleep against his chest, drooling slightly on his shirt. 3 years ago, Daniel said softly, my wife died. Car accident. Sudden, no warning. One day we were a family. The next day I was a single dad with a 4-year-old and no idea how to survive. Maya's chest tightened. I fell apart. He continued. Lost my job. Couldn't pay rent. We ended up staying in my car for 2 weeks while I tried to figure things out. Tommy was so little he thought we were camping, didn't understand why Mommy wasn't coming back or why we couldn't go home. He looked down at his sleeping son with so much love it hurt to watch. A woman from a parent support group found out what was happening. She was a stranger, really. We'd only met once or twice, but she helped me get back on my feet. Connected me with resources, helped me find this teaching job, even paid my first month's rent so I could get Tommy into a stable home. He looked back at Maya. She didn't have to do any of that, but she did. And she told me something I'll never forget. What did she say? She said that when you've been down, when you've really been at the bottom, you have 2 choices. You can pull the ladder up behind you, or you can reach back and help the next person climb. She chose to reach back, and now I'm choosing to reach back too. Maya felt her eyes burning. She looked away, blinking hard. I'm not saying I'm some hero, Daniel added quickly. I'm not rescuing you. This is a real job with real expectations. You'd be working with teenagers, which isn't easy. Some of them are dealing with tough stuff, poverty, family problems, the same things you're probably facing. It won't be glamorous, but it's honest work, and it's something. What if I mess up? Maya asked quietly. What if I'm not good enough? Then you'll mess up and we'll figure it out together, Daniel said simply. That's how life works. Nobody has it all figured out. I'm barely holding it together most days. But we show up anyway. We try anyway. Tommy stirred in his sleep, mumbling something about dinosaurs. Daniel adjusted his hold on the boy gently. Look, he said, I'm not going to pressure you. This is a big decision. You need time to think about it. But I need to know, are you at least interested? Should I talk to Principal Rodriguez about moving forward? Maya thought about the shelter she might or might not get into tonight. About the cold sidewalk she'd been sitting on for weeks. About the gnawing hunger that had become normal. About the art degree she'd earned and the dreams she'd given up on. But she also thought about what Daniel had said, about reaching back, about showing up even when you were barely holding it together. "Can I ask you something first?" she said. "Of course. Why do you really think I can do this? You saw me sitting on a street corner. For all you know, I could have problems, addiction, mental health issues, whatever. Most people would assume the worst." Daniel looked at her steadily. "You want to know what I see when I look at you?" Maya nodded, not sure she really wanted to hear the answer. "I see someone who's still creating art even though the world knocked her down. I see someone who could have given up, could have left the city, could have quit trying. But you're still here, still drawing, still offering your talent to strangers for just enough food to survive." He paused. "That's not weakness, Maya. That's incredible strength. That's exactly the kind of person I want teaching my students." Maya couldn't speak. Nobody had seen her that way in so long. Nobody had looked at her situation and seen strength instead of failure. "The housing unit is available immediately," Daniel said. "It's not fancy, just a small studio apartment on campus, but it has a bed, a bathroom, a kitchen. It's warm and safe. If you want it, I can have the paperwork ready by Monday." Monday. 3 days away. 3 more days of cold sidewalks and uncertain shelter and constant hunger. Or 3 days until a new start. "What do I have to do?" Maya asked. "Just say yes," Daniel said. "The rest we'll figure out as we go." Maya looked at the portrait she'd drawn of Tommy. It was good work, some of her best. She'd almost forgotten she was capable of creating something beautiful. Almost forgotten she had value beyond her empty stomach and her cardboard sign. She thought about Daniel's words, about reaching back, about showing up even when everything felt impossible. "Okay," she whispered. "Yes, I'll do it." Daniel's whole face lit up. "Yeah, you're sure?" "I'm terrified," Maya admitted, "but yes, I'm sure." "Being terrified is okay," Daniel said, standing up carefully so he wouldn't wake Tommy. "Some of the best things in life are terrifying. You're going to do great." As Maya packed up her things that night, the cardboard sign went into the trash. She wouldn't need it anymore. And somehow, despite everything, that felt like the beginning of something real. Maya stood in the doorway of the small apartment, unable to move. It wasn't much, just one room with a bed, a tiny kitchen area, and a bathroom she could see through an open door. But it was clean. It was warm. And it was hers. "I know it's not fancy," Daniel said, setting down the box of supplies he'd brought. "But the bed's comfortable and the heating works. That's more than half the teacher housing can say." Maya walked in slowly, like she was afraid it might disappear if she moved too fast. She ran her hand along the wall, testing if it was real. A real wall, a real room, a real door she could close and lock. "There's food in the fridge," Daniel continued. "Just basics, bread, eggs, milk, some fruit. And I put some art supplies in the closet. Nothing fancy, but enough to get you started." "You didn't have to do all this," Maya said, her voice cracking. "Yes, I did," Daniel said simply. "First day is Monday. That gives you the weekend to settle in, rest up, maybe take a real shower." Maya laughed, and it came out sounding half like a sob. A real shower? When was the last time she'd had one of those? The shelter had showers, but they were always crowded, always rushed, always cold. "Thank you," she managed to say. "I don't know how to... thank you doesn't feel like enough." "It's enough," Daniel said. He handed her a key. "Lock the door. Get some sleep. I'll come by Sunday afternoon to show you around the school and go over what to expect. Sound good?" Maya nodded, clutching the key so hard it left marks in her palm. After Daniel left, she just stood there for a long time. Then she did something she hadn't done in months. She cried. Really cried. Not the silent tears she'd learned to hide on the street, but big, ugly, gasping sobs that came from somewhere deep inside. She cried for every cold night, every hungry day, every moment she'd felt invisible and worthless and forgotten. When she was done, she took a shower. The water was hot. Actually hot. She stood under it until her skin turned pink, washing away weeks of dirt and shame and fear. She used the cheap shampoo Daniel had left 3 times. She scrubbed her skin until it hurt. When she finally got out, she looked at herself in the mirror. Really looked. She'd lost weight. Her cheeks were hollow, her collarbone stuck out too much. There were dark circles under her eyes and a hardness in her expression that hadn't been there before. But she was still here. Still standing. And now she had a chance. That night, Maya slept in a real bed for the first time in months. She woke up 3 times, disoriented, thinking she was still on the street. Each time it took a moment to remember where she was, to remember that this was real. The weekend passed in a blur. Maya spent most of it sleeping and eating. Simple things she'd taken for granted her whole life suddenly felt like miracles. Toast with butter, a glass of cold milk, a bed with an actual pillow. Sunday afternoon, Daniel came back with Tommy. The boy ran into the apartment like he owned the place, immediately finding the art supplies in the closet. "Can we draw together?" Tommy asked, already pulling out paper. "Maybe later, buddy," Daniel said. "I need to show Maya the school first." "You remember our deal? I get to show her my classroom," Tommy said proudly. "I'm in second grade. My teacher's name is Mrs. Chen, and she lets us have a hamster." The school was bigger than Maya expected. Daniel led her through empty hallways. It was Sunday, so only a few staff members were around. He showed her the art room, which looked even more depressing in person than in the photos. Bare walls, old desks, supplies that had seen better days. "I know it's not inspiring," Daniel said, "but we're going to change that. With your help." He explained what her role would be. She'd assist in his classes, work with small groups of students, help with individual projects, 3 days a week. She'd have the art room to herself to create her own work or meet one-on-one with students who needed extra help. "The kids are going to test you," Daniel warned, "especially the older ones. They're used to people giving up on them. Teachers who don't care, programs that get cut, promises that don't mean anything. They'll push back to see if you're real." "How do I handle that?" Maya asked. "You be honest with them. You show up. You don't give up," he paused. "And you tell them the truth. About where you've been, about what you've been through. These kids, a lot of them are dealing with their own struggles. They need to see that someone who's been down can still get back up." Maya wasn't sure about that. Sharing her story meant being vulnerable, admitting she'd failed. But she nodded anyway. Monday morning came too fast. Maya stood outside the art room at 7:30, watching students flood through the hallways. They were so young, so loud, so full of energy and life and chaos. "You ready?" Daniel appeared beside her, carrying a coffee. He handed her one. "I didn't know how you take it, so I got it light and sweet." "Perfect," Maya said, though she could barely taste it through her nerves. The first class was sophomores. 28 students crammed into a room meant for 20. They looked at Maya with suspicious eyes as Daniel introduced her. "This is Maya Torres," he said. "She's our new artist in residence. She's going to be working with us this semester." "Where'd you go to school?" A girl in the back called out. "State University," Maya answered. "Got my degree in fine arts 3 years ago. So why are you here?" a boy asked. "It wasn't mean, just curious." "Don't you want to be like a real artist?" Maya looked at Daniel. He nodded slightly, encouraging her to be honest. "I tried to be a real artist," Maya said. "Moved to the city, looked for gallery work, tried to sell my paintings. It didn't work out. I ended up homeless for a while. Living on the streets, drawing portraits for food." The room went completely silent. Every eye was on her now. "Last week, Mr. Davis saw me sitting outside a cafe with a sign that said I'd draw for meals. He bought me dinner and offered me this job. So I'm here because sometimes life doesn't go the way you plan. But that doesn't mean it's over." A hand went up. "A skinny kid with paint already on his shirt even though class had just started, yeah?" Maya said. "Did you want to give up?" he asked quietly. Maya thought about it. "Really thought about it?" "Every single day," she said honestly. "Some days I wanted to quit so badly I could barely function, but I kept drawing anyway, because it was the only thing that made me feel like myself." The kid nodded like he understood exactly what she meant. "All right," Daniel said. "Let's get started. Today we're working on perspective. Maya is going to help demonstrate." The class went better than Maya expected. The students were rough around the edges, but they listened. They asked questions. They actually seemed interested in learning. During lunch, a girl approached Maya. She was maybe 16 with purple streaks in her hair and paint under her fingernails. "Hey," the girl said. "I just wanted to say what you said this morning about not giving up even when you wanted to. That meant something. My mom kicked me out last month. I've been staying with my cousin. Sometimes I think about just dropping out." Maya's heart clenched. "Don't," she said. "I know it's hard. Trust me, I know. But you're so close. Once you graduate, you'll have options. Scholarships, programs, opportunities. Don't give up right before the finish line." The girl nodded, blinking back tears. "Thanks. I needed to hear that." After she left, Daniel came over. See? You're already making a difference. It's only been one day, Maya said. Exactly. Daniel smiled. Imagine what you can do with a whole semester. That night, Maya sat in her small apartment, exhausted but satisfied. She pulled out her sketch pad and started drawing. Not because she had to, not for food or survival, just because she wanted to. And for the first time in a very long time, that felt like enough. 6 months passed faster than Maya thought possible. The bare walls of the art room were now covered with student work. Paintings, drawings, collages, photographs. Every inch of space told a story. A girl dealing with her parents' divorce had created a series of torn paper portraits. A boy struggling with anxiety had painted abstract pieces that somehow captured exactly what fear felt like. A senior hoping for an art scholarship had built an entire portfolio with Maya's help. The room had transformed. But more than that, Maya had transformed too. She stood in front of the mirror in her apartment, barely recognizing herself. She'd gained back the weight she'd lost. The dark circles under her eyes were gone. She looked healthy. More than that, she looked happy. Today was the school's annual art showcase. Parents, teachers, and local community members would come to see what the students had created. Maya had spent weeks helping prepare for it, staying late with students who wanted their pieces to be perfect, encouraging the ones who were too scared to display their work. "You nervous?" Daniel asked, appearing in her doorway. Tommy was with him, dressed in his best shirt, clutching a drawing he'd made. Terrified, Maya admitted. "What if nobody comes? What if people think the work isn't good enough?" "Then they're wrong," Daniel said simply. "These kids have poured their hearts into this. That's what matters." The gymnasium had been transformed into a gallery. White sheets hung from the ceiling, creating makeshift walls for the artwork. Soft music played in the background. Students stood nervously by their pieces, waiting for guests to arrive. Maya walked through the space, making last-minute adjustments. She stopped at a particular piece, a painting by the girl with purple hair, the one who'd approached her that first day. The girl had stayed in school despite everything. Her piece showed a girl climbing out of darkness toward light, reaching for hands that were pulling her up. "It's about what you said," the girl appeared beside Maya. "About not giving up. About people reaching back to help." "It's beautiful," Maya said, meaning it. "You should be really proud." "I got accepted to art school," the girl said quietly. "Full scholarship. I found out yesterday. I couldn't have done it without you helping with my portfolio." Maya hugged her, not caring that it probably wasn't professional. This was what mattered. This right here. The doors opened and people started flooding in. More people than Maya expected. Parents with cameras, teachers, even some local news reporters. Maya watched as a woman stopped in front of one student's work, tears streaming down her face. The student, a quiet boy who rarely spoke, had created a tribute to his grandmother who'd raised him. The woman was his aunt, and she kept telling him how proud his grandmother would have been. Another parent stood transfixed by her daughter's sculpture made entirely from recycled materials. "I had no idea she could do this," the mother kept saying. "I had no idea she was this talented." That was the thing, Maya realized. These kids had always been talented. They just needed someone to see it, to believe in it, to give them the space and encouragement to create. "Miss Torres," a woman in a business suit approached. "I'm Christine Walsh. I own an art gallery downtown." Maya's heart jumped. She knew that gallery. It was one of the nice ones, the kind she used to dream about displaying her work in. "I've been walking around for the past hour," Christine continued, "and I'm incredibly impressed, not just with the technical skill, but with the heart in this work. These students are telling real stories." "They are," Maya agreed. "They're amazing kids." "I'd like to propose something," Christine said. "A joint exhibition at my gallery. Student work alongside your work. Show the community that art isn't just about individual achievement. It's about lifting each other up. Would you be interested?" Maya opened her mouth but couldn't find words. A gallery exhibition, something she'd wanted for so long. But now the offer included her students, which somehow made it even better. Maya started. "Think about it," Christine said, handing her a business card. "No pressure. But I think there's something powerful here. Something people need to see." After Christine walked away, Maya just stood there holding the card. Daniel appeared beside her, grinning. "Did she just offer you a gallery show?" he asked. "Us," Maya corrected. Me and the students, that's incredible. Are you going to do it? Maya looked around the gymnasium, at students laughing with their families, at parents seeing their kids' talents for the first time, at the girl with purple hair explaining her painting to a reporter, at the boy with paint under his nails showing his grandmother his entire portfolio. I want to, Maya said slowly, but I want to make sure the students come first. That this is about them, not about me getting recognition. That's exactly why you should do it, Daniel said. Because you're thinking about them first. These kids need to see that their art has value. That people want to see it. A gallery show could change everything for some of them. Tommy ran up, pulling on Maya's sleeve. Look, I made you something. He held up his drawing. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands. One was labeled Dad, one was Tommy, and one was Maya. Above them, he'd written in wobbly letters, My family. Maya crouched down to his level. This is the best thing I've seen all day. Really? Better than all the big kid art? So much better, Maya said, and she meant it. That evening, after everyone had left and the gymnasium was quiet again, Maya and Daniel sat on the floor surrounded by artwork, helping students pack up their pieces. Remember that first night? Daniel asked. When I saw you outside the cafe. Hard to forget, Maya said. I thought you were crazy. Who offers a job to someone they just met on the street? Someone who'd been there, Daniel said. Someone who remembered what it felt like to need help. Maya looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd seen her at her lowest and somehow saw potential instead of problems. Who'd taken a chance when nobody else would. I need to tell you something, she said. Okay. When you first offered me this job, I said yes because I was desperate. I would have said yes to anything. But now, she paused, trying to find the right words. Now I'm staying because this is where I belong. These kids, this work, it means something. It matters in a way I never knew art could matter. Daniel smiled. That's the thing about teaching. You come in thinking you're going to change lives and then you realize they're changing yours. Do you ever regret it? Maya asked. Helping me, I mean. Was it worth the risk? Daniel looked around at the empty gymnasium, at the lingering evidence of creativity and growth and transformation. Look at what these kids accomplished this year, he said. Look at the difference you made. 6 months ago, half of them were ready to give up on art entirely. Now they're planning gallery shows and applying to art schools and believing in themselves. You did that. So yeah, it was worth every risk. Maya pulled out her phone and looked at Christine's business card again. Then she looked at the drawing Tommy had made, still clutched in her other hand. I'm going to call her, Maya decided. Set up the gallery show. But we do it right. We make sure every student who wants to participate gets to. We tell their stories. We show people what's possible when someone believes in you. Sounds perfect, Daniel said. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, just being present in the space they'd created together. Thank you, Maya said finally, for everything. For seeing me when I was invisible. For giving me a chance when I had nothing. For reminding me that art isn't just about creating beautiful things. It's about creating beautiful change. Thank you, Daniel said, for proving that sometimes the best thing you can do is reach back and pull someone up with you. You've shown these kids what resilience looks like. What hope looks like. That's worth more than any gallery show. Tommy had fallen asleep in one of the chairs, exhausted from the excitement. Daniel picked him up gently and the 3 of them walked out together into the cool evening air. Maya looked back at the school one more time. 6 months ago, she'd been sitting on a cold sidewalk with a cardboard sign wondering if she'd survive another day. Now she had a home, a purpose, a family, even if it looked different than she'd imagined. She thought about the girl who'd gotten into art school, about the boy who'd finally shown his grandmother his work, about every student who'd discovered their voice through paint and pencil and clay. This was what it meant to be an artist, Maya realized. Not the gallery shows or the recognition or the money. It was about using your gifts to lift others up, about turning your pain into purpose, about proving that no matter how far you fall, you can always get back up, especially when someone reaches back to help you climb. And as they walked toward the parking lot, Maya knew without a doubt that she was exactly where she was supposed to be.